So today we're reviewing
Malignant.
So we literally just got done watching
We're in the theater.
Malignant, and we literally are sitting in the seats. We just watched the movie.
Right.
This theater, I'm pretty sure the workers just leave, and if they come back in and tell us to leave, then we'll leave. But what are your initial thoughts of seeing this movie like 2 minutes ago?
Sitting in the seat watching that film that we just saw, there was a very interesting new take on like the horror genre. It was definitely something I'd never seen before. Going into it, I thought it was really going to be I mean, they mentioned the devil in the trailer. I thought it was like an origin story of some major demon, and definitely like a demon story. And while it felt like it was going that direction the whole time, it went away at the end. That was much more like, I guess there was a supernatural element to it in some ways, but for the most part, it was a realistic idea for what. I mean, somewhat realistic idea.
Not realistic,
but it was definitely, I'd say, I want to say enjoyable. It was a very good horror film. Hold on. It was a pretty good horror film and did a lot of new things. And while I think there's definitely some things that I felt off about the movie, it was definitely above average. And James Wan, once again, is just phenomenal in what he does with filming. And I can get into my positives, but
yeah,
I'd say I enjoyed the movie. I was not bored. I was intrigued the whole time. And leaving the theater here in a few minutes, I feel like I had a decent time with the movie.
Yeah, this movie was something. I mean, this movie, I think disturbing would be a good word to use. Goodness gracious.
I mean, we had to look away a few times.
This is the most raw reaction ever to a movie because we just saw it 30 seconds ago. Well, from filming this review. I haven't even stood up yet. Usually we talk about it for like 10 minutes before we do the review. It's very disturbing. This is not a kid's movie.
No.
If you're under 18, do not see this movie. It was shocking. It was interesting though. It was really interesting, disturbing, and I don't know. It wrapped up pretty well. Some movies kind of tape off at the end. I feel like it did pretty good all the way through. It was interesting. Why don't we go into our main positives of the film?
I think for the positives, once again, I said James Wan was great. Once again, I mean, this is definitely not his best horror film. I mean, it's hard for me. He'll never. I mean, it's gonna be tough to top The Conjuring's Insidious. But in regards to just to James Wan tropes, the filming was great. There were some scenes that were filmed in his perfect style, where it's like an aerial one shot, just really cool things to like look at. Horror film or not, it was a really cool film to look at. The music was good. The fight sequences were amazing as far as what
unexpectedly
this Gabriel character that you hear in the trailer. No spoiler. Like there was some stuff that it was better fight sequences than action movies I've seen, and there was a lot of them. And
did not expect that.
Yeah, and even the special effects were great too. I mean, there were some very over the top kills, which was something I really wasn't expecting out of this movie until a couple days ago or a week or so ago, when I heard about the gore being a major thing in this movie. And for a while, I'm like, man, they're cutting away from a lot of this stuff. It's not even that gory. But then there are some sequences that are not shy from the gore.
Gracious.
I mean, I had to cover my face a couple of times. I'm like, there's a scene where something's about to happen. I'm like, no, they're not going to do that. And I'm like, yep, they're doing it. Certain times that were pretty scary as far as what was on the screen, but nothing on the level of like a Conjuring or Insidious. Like, don't go into this movie expecting to be like you're gonna go home and be like thinking about stuff. Like you'll be thinking about stuff, but not the way like Conjuring, where you go home and you're like, okay, is the nun behind me, or like, and spoilers, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, my positives, it was shot really well, good sound effects, good visual effects, and there were some moments that had me covering ear, really good tension-filled scenes, one in particular where there's like a dark hallway, and then the villain, in a movie, good guys, villains, the villain was understandable. I mean, you understood why things were happening at the end. I mean, obviously, it's a bad guy.
Yeah.
You understand it's bad, but it was an interesting take on it. It's not just, I don't want to spoil it, but it's interesting. It's different from all of James Wan's other movies. Why don't we go into our negatives, though, and then give our final thoughts?
Negatives, I have to say, the acting, in some ways, was very over the top, and I think that was something that we kind of expected from some of the stuff that we had heard.
Yeah.
But there were some scenes that, even for me, I was just like, I don't know. Like the tone. I'm not one to be like, oh, the tone was off, but the tone didn't seem to be off. And sometimes it's like there were times that like they went for comedy, and then sometimes where they weren't going for comedy, but it was way over the top and just did not seem to match. Like it was not a very. It was all over the place as far as the tone goes, and even the premise itself is a little bit ridiculous when you think about it. But they go a super serious route in some ways, and the tone is just not matching in my mind. And I was very confused for the most, which is fine. Because in my mind, I think they answered all the questions I had. And leaving the theater, I really don't have any. Not like the Lighthouse or Night House, or the movie's called Night House. This one, I know what happened. I know what was going on, and everything seems to like kind of solidify and tell you what was happening. And it gave you like, almost all the answers you were looking for. Even though there were still some horror trippy things I was a little bit frustrated with, as far as there's like maybe one jump scare, cheap jump scare, but yeah. I would just say the tone, the acting was a little off in some ways, and I guess I'll say one quick positive, I guess, before I let you do your negatives, was that it's kind of positive and a negative. Remember on the trailer where like it's too much going on? Yeah. That did not really bother me as much as I was afraid of what's going to.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be confusing.
Right, I was like, what is going on the screen? But it seemed actually, it did it much better than what I was fearing, so that was one more positive I wanted to throw in, was that element was not really what hurt it for me, even though there was a lot going on, and yeah, but I think my biggest negative is just the tone, and I think some of the gore, I'm not going to say over the top, I mean, that's what you're going for, I guess, in some ways, but I think the tone was the worst thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, the gore, I don't like that much gore.
Right, we're not
but
gore
I don't
fans.
really know how they could have done it otherwise. I guess they didn't really need to show some stuff, but Gabriel's running around here.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, well,
okay. Scores real quick.
Well, yeah, no, okay. So the music was a negative. The music was a negative, and it was a little too gory. And that's probably my main negatives. There were some moments that was kind of weird. It was confusing, but then at the end it wasn't confusing. So those are my main negatives. Why don't we give it final thoughts and score? So I get the top 5 seconds.
I enjoyed it. It was a pretty good film, and yeah, like I said, for a horror film, not the greatest. I thought it was something else.
Gabriel ran on the ceiling.
I was gonna say, definitely enjoyed it. It wasn't a great film, but it wasn't horrible. It was definitely above average. And as I said, my positive, James Wan is James Wan, and gore there was some good action. Music was great. I thought the music was great, actually. I was hoping to use that music.
Music was negative for me, but for some
the
parts
music
it was
for some reason it was really weird. But then it kind of like
it was good in some
at
parts.
First, I'm like,
really
what the heck am I
noise.
listening to? But then as it went along, it kind of like was pretty epic. And I'm hoping they can use that kind of music in Halloween Kills Me coming out soon. But the score, I would have to say.
Yeah, that we're wrapping it up here.
For the score, I'll go with I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10 as well. I just think it's, I don't know, this movie is just very disturbing.
I'm gonna get out of here.
I feel like, I don't know, it's very, very disturbing. Can't really say I'd want to watch this again.
No.
So I think I'd probably, I guess a 7. It was a good film. There was some really good things about it. It was interesting. Really good music, effects. I mean, interesting villain.
I think a 7 match.
But I think a 7's probably accurate because I'm not going to go back and see this again. But it was interesting. There's a lot of effort put in this movie. And,
it was something new.
Yeah, it was. It was new and interesting.
Well, thanks for watching our non-spoiler review of Malignant, and let us know in the comments what you think about this movie if you saw it. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll hopefully see you in the next video. Bye. Let's hurry up before the lights do shut off.
So today we're reviewing
Malignant. Or is it Malignant?
Malignant.
Do it again.